Christy knew she was crossing a line the second the words left her mouth. I don't care if you're rich, powerful, or used to people doing whatever you say. I'm here because this is my job and I was paid to make sure I delivered it well. If you are not interested, I would just leave, she said to the tattooed Korean man standing in shadows, the one whose eyes promised violence to anyone who pitted him. Min Ji-young hadn't let anyone touch him in 3 years, not since the night that accident stole everything that made him feel like a man. But there was something in her tone that stirred his interest before the massage. If you don't mind? I'd like to take a look, she whispered, running her hand down his rock-hard abs. The second her hand found that sensitive spot on his lower abdomen, and she whispered, let me prove you're not broken. His entire body went rigid in a way that had nothing to do with pain and everything to do with the sensation he though had gone forever. What Christy didn't know as Ji-young pulled her closer was that making a Mafia boss feel again came with a price. The question now is, was she willing to pay? There is only one way to find out. Do not touch that dial. Welcome to my channel, besties. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button to support my channel, like and comment where you're watching from. I would love to meet you all in the comments section. Now, let's continue. The fluorescent lights of Seoul's most exclusive private hospital hummed softly as Christy Thompson checked her reflection in the elevator mirror. Her natural curls were pulled back into a professional bun, and she smoothed down her navy blue scrubs that hugged her perfectly sculptured body one more time. This was it. Her first major client in South Korea, and apparently, the son of the woman who'd hired her was less than thrilled about it. The elevator doors opened to reveal a corridor that looked nothing like a hospital. No patients, just a few nurses walking around hastily with tense shoulders like they had a gun pointed at the back of their head. This wasn't the conventional hospital. It was a pristine fortress that catered for men of the underworld. Her key card beeped against the door scanner and the door slid open. Beyond, a tall man in a black suit stood waiting. His expression was blank, professional, but his eyes tracked her every movement like a predator assessing prey. Miss Thompson. Yeah, that's me. Christy adjusted the strap of her therapy bag on her shoulder. I'm Min Tae-young. I handle security for Mr. Ji-young. He's waiting inside, but I should warn you that he doesn't want me here. Christy finished. His mother already mentioned that part. Don't worry. I've handled difficult clients before. Tae-young's mouth twitched, almost like he wanted to smile. With respect, you haven't handled anyone like him. The door at the end of the hall opened before Christy could respond. A younger man stepped out, handsome with an easy smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. You must be the miracle worker my mother hired. I'm Min Yi-jun, the reasonable brother. He extended his hand. Fair warning, my brother's in a mood. But then again, when isn't he? Christy shook his hand firmly. I appreciate the heads up, but I'm here to do a job. Moods don't scare me. They should, Yi-jun said, but he stepped aside to let her pass. The room beyond was cast in shadows. Heavy curtains blocked out the afternoon sun, and the only light came from the city skyline visible through a gap in the drapes. A man stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back, posture rigid with tension. He didn't turn around. Mr. Ji-young? Christy kept her voice professional but warm. I'm Christy Thompson. Your mother hired me to. I know why you're here. His voice was deep, controlled, and cold as ice. And I'm telling you to leave. I flew 8,000 miles to help you. The least you can do is look at me when you're dismissing me. The silence stretched long enough that Christy wondered if she'd pushed too hard. Then slowly, deliberately, he turned. Christy's breath caught. He was tall, probably 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his black sweater perfectly. His face was all sharp angles and severe beauty, the kind that would make people stare on the street. Dark hair fell slightly into eyes that were currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her pulse skip. But it wasn't his looks that made her pause. It was the emptiness in those eyes. The carefully constructed wall that screamed of someone who'd given up on something fundamental. You've looked. Now leave. He turned back to the window. No. Christy set down her bag with a decisive thump. I don't care if you're rich, powerful, or used to people doing whatever you say. I'm here because this is my job and I was paid to make sure I delivered it well. Your nerve damage doesn't have to be permanent. Well, except you are comfortable with it, and that makes my job easy. I'd just leave. Her tone sent a shock wave through Ji-young. No lady dared to speak to him in such a manner, but Christy wasn't intimidated. She continued. Healing is possible when you stop fighting your own body. Stop acting like you know everything, young lady. You don't know anything about my body. His voice shook just a little. Christy didn't look at his face. She just flipped through pages of her little journal with a smirk as she looked through each page. I know you've had 3 surgeries, 12 different specialists, then she lifted her face. I know you're standing in the dark because you've convinced yourself you're broken beyond repair. Christy moved closer, just enough to invade his space. Well, Mr. Ji-young, I'm here to tell you squarely that you're wrong. Min Ji-young turned again, and this time she saw something flicker behind the icy appearance. Anger, maybe. Or curiosity. I want to see it. 1 session. Christy held up a finger. Give me 1 hour. If nothing changes, if you don't feel even the slightest difference, I'll leave and never bother you again. But if there's a chance, even a small one, that your stuff down there gets to react to my approach, she paused, dropping her gaze to his waistline. Then you owe me an apology. He studied her for what felt like forever. Christy forced herself to hold his gaze, to not look away from the intensity burning there. Fine. He moved past her toward a door on the far side of the room. 1 session. Then you leave. The therapy room was better lit, equipped with professional equipment that must have cost a fortune. Christy began setting up while Ji-young stood against the wall, watching her with that same unnerving focus. I need you on the table, she said, pulling out her massage oils and nerve stimulation tools. I don't take orders. He responded arrogantly. In this room, you do. Unless you'd rather stay broken. The word hung between them like a challenge. His jaw tightened. This was going to be his last shot at this, just for his mother's sake. Afterwards, no more. He moved to the table, carelessly unbuttoning his shirt, revealing his well-chiseled abs and toned muscle inked authentically with the Min family-crested tattoo before laying down with visible reluctance. Christy's jaw dropped, though not visibly, but something cracked in her chest at the sight of his bare body as he approached. She was quick to regain her professional composure firmly in place despite the way her hands wanted to shake. There was something about him that set her nerves on edge. Not fear exactly, but awareness. The kind that made her hyper-conscious of every breath, every movement. I'm going to start with your lower back. The nerves that control sensation originate from your lumbar spine. She warmed the oil between her palms. This might be uncomfortable at first, but I need you to try to relax. I don't relax. Then today's full of firsts. Christy placed her hands on his lower back. His entire body went rigid under her touch. The muscles beneath her fingers were dense, locked tight with years of tension. Christy worked slowly, carefully, finding knots and pressure points. She'd treated hundreds of patients, but something about touching him felt different. More intimate than it should. You're barely breathing, she murmured. Tension makes nerve response worse. It's hard to relax when a stranger has their hands on you. I'm not a stranger. I'm your therapist. Christy pressed deeper into a particularly tight spot along his spine. When's the last time anyone touched you? And I don't mean doctors poking and prodding. I mean really touched you. The silence was answer enough. They continued in quiet, broken only by the soft sounds of her movements and his carefully controlled breathing. Christy lost herself in the work, in the familiar rhythm of finding tension and releasing it. But she couldn't ignore the warmth spreading through her palms, the way his body slowly, grudgingly, began to respond to her touch. By the time an hour passed, something had shifted. Ji-young sat up abruptly, and Christy saw the flicker across his face. What is it? Her brows furrowed. Did I hurt you somewhere? Ji-young gave no response for a few seconds. Then he finally answered. I think we should call it a day with a massage. Huh, a day? But I'm not done. We still have a couple of minutes before. I said, we are done. He barked. All right. Christy held up her hand in submission, then went ahead to stack up her massage tools into her bag when he suddenly broke the ice. I felt something. Just now. He flexed his hands like he was testing them. That hasn't happened in 3 years. Anne. I'm sorry for yelling. The word sorry caused Christy to turn back. Did I just hear you say sorry? She almost chuckled. Flushed and embarrassed, Ji-young brushed his finger through his hair. Well, I struck a deal. Christy smiled, turning back to her bag. It's a start. She cleaned her hands, trying to ignore the way her heart was racing. Same time tomorrow. What if nothing else changes? Ji-young responded almost immediately, like he was scared to lose this tingly tingle again. She looked at him directly. What if everything does? That's what you're really afraid of, isn't it? He didn't answer, but the look in his eyes told her she'd hit the mark. See you tomorrow, Mr. Min. She winked at him, took a last long stare as if she was taking a memory shot of his feature before heading to the door. Christy left the hospital feeling oddly shaken. She'd treated powerful men before, celebrities and executives. Everything had gone professionally. No spark, no mushy feelings. But Min Ji-young was different. Dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with his reputation, and everything to do with the way he looked at her and how her ethical walls melted under his stare. Her apartment in Itaewon was small but comfortable, a sublet from another therapist who had returned to the States. Christy dropped her bag by the door and collapsed onto the couch, pulling out her phone to call her best friend back in California. Hey, Christy. So tell me, how did it go? Jessica's voice came through bright and curious. How was the mysterious client? She exhaled deeply. Complicated. Christy closed her eyes. He's got severe nerve damage from an accident 3 years ago. Complete loss of sensation and function in certain areas and private areas too. But Jess, his mother, said he's given up. Like, completely. I trust you were able to do your magic with those soft hands of yours, Jessica teased. Stop with the teasing, Jess. I'm just doing my job. Christy smiled despite her exhaustion. But there was this moment today when he felt something change. Like his body remembering what it used to do. It was incredible. Okay. And what's he like? Is he nice? Mean? Gorgeous? Come on. Give me the full details, Jessica squealed over the phone. Christy's smile and soft chuckle was too long. Oh my God, he's gorgeous, Jessica crowed. I can hear it in your voice. Stop, Jess. He's my client. His looks don't matter. But he is gorgeous. Jessica pressed on. Devastatingly. Christy groaned. But also cold and closed off and clearly dealing with some serious stuff beyond the physical. I'm here to do a job. Not develop some stupid crush. Too late. You already have one. Jessica bursted into laughter. I do not. You used the word devastatingly. You're gone, girl. They talked for another 20 minutes before Christy finally hung up. She knew Jessica wasn't totally wrong, but she tried to brush it off. I am a professional. I've worked with attractive clients before without any issues. This would be no different. She closed her eyes, reminding herself of the truth that was about to become a lie. That night, Christy couldn't stop thinking about the way Ji-young's body had felt under her hands. The heat of his skin, the tension slowly melting away, the vulnerability of him trusting her enough to lie there and let her work. She fell asleep that night with his face in her mind, those dark eyes watching her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. The next morning, Christy arrived at the hospital promptly at 8. Taeyong met her in the lobby this time, his expression slightly less forbidding than yesterday. He's already in the therapy room, he said as they rode the elevator up. That's new. Usually we have to hunt him down. Progress, Christy murmured. Ji-young was indeed waiting, dressed in black athletic wear that showcased his physique in ways her professional brain tried very hard to ignore. He stood by the window again, but this time he turned when she entered. You came back. I said I would. Christy set down her bag. How did you feel today? She asked, stepping in. Different. He moved toward the table without being asked. Not necessarily better, but different. Different is good. It means your body is responding. She began setting up. Today, we're going to work on your hip flexors and lower abdominals. The nerve pathways there connect to everything else. Something flickered in his eyes. Awareness, maybe. Or concern. That's more invasive. I'm a professional, Mr. Ji-young. I've done this hundreds of times. Christy kept her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. But if you're uncomfortable, we can modify the approach. I'm not uncomfortable. He lay down, but she saw his hands fist at his sides. Do what you need to do. Christy warmed fresh oil, then placed her hands just above his hip bone. His stomach muscles contracted immediately under her touch. Breathe, she instructed softly. I know this feels vulnerable, but tension defeats the purpose. Everything about this feels vulnerable. That's because it is. Her hands moved in slow circles, working the tight muscles. Healing requires vulnerability. That's the scary part nobody talks about. They fell into silence, but it was different from yesterday. Charged somehow. Christy was acutely aware of every point of contact between her hands and his body, every breath he took, every tiny shift in his position. Why did you become a physical therapist? His voice startled her. My father had a stroke when I was younger. The therapist who worked with him was amazing. Patient and kind, and she helped him walk again when everyone else said it was impossible. Christy's hands continued their work. I wanted to be that person for someone else. Noble, he commended. Practical, she countered. I like fixing things. Am I anything to fix? She met his eyes. You're a person who deserves to feel whole. That's different. Something passed between them in that look. Something that made Christy's hands falter for just a second before she forced herself back to professionalism. By the end of the session, Ji-young was sitting up, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Tomorrow? He asked this around. Amazed, Christy smiled. Yeah, see you tomorrow. It became their routine. Every morning at 8, Christy arrived at the facility and worked with Ji-young for an hour. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they worked in comfortable silence. But every day, she felt him opening up a little more. The walls coming down brick by careful brick. On the 4th day, he told her about the accident. A car crash on a rainy night 3 years ago. His driver had died instantly. Ji-young had survived, but with injuries that went beyond broken bones. The doctors said I was lucky, he said quietly, staring at the ceiling while she worked on his shoulders. Lucky to be alive. Lucky to walk again. But it didn't feel lucky when I realized what I'd lost. He paused, then continued. Everything that made me feel like a man. His voice was flat. The ability to feel pleasure, to connect with someone physically, to have a future that included normal things like marriage and children. Christy's hands stilled for a moment. Your body is healing, Ji-young. I'm sure you can feel it responding. The nerve damage isn't permanent. You don't know that. I do. I've seen cases like yours before. With the right treatment, with time and patience, function can be restored. She resumed her work, focusing on a particularly tight knot. But you have to believe it's possible. Your mind is as much a part of healing as your body. Easy to say when it's not your body. You're right. It's not easy. But giving up is easier, and you've been doing that for 3 years. She pressed harder, making him wince. Time to stop. On the 6th day, Yi-jun showed up halfway through the session, knocking briefly before entering. His eyes went wide when he saw Christy's hands on his brother's lower back, the intimate nature of the work. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Mother wants to know if you're joining us for dinner tonight. He looked between them with obvious curiosity. Both of you. Ji-young's eyes found Christy's. That's not necessary. I'd love to, Christy said before she could second-guess herself. If it's not an imposition. It's not, Yi-jun said quickly. 7 o'clock at the family estate. I'll send a car for you. After he left, Ji-young sat up slowly. You don't have to go. My mother can be intense. I want to go. I'd like to meet the woman who hired me. Christy began cleaning up her equipment. Unless you don't want me there. It's not that. It's just that once you go beyond these sessions, things might get complicated. I can handle complicated. Her voice dropped in a soft whisper. Can you? He stood, moving closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. My family isn't like normal families, Christy. We have expectations, traditions, and people who watch everything we do. I grew up in a military family. I understand expectations and being watched. She held her ground even as her heart raced. Are you scared they might think you're in love with me? No. The word came out fierce. Never that. I just don't want you to feel pressured into something you're not ready for. Let me decide what I'm ready for. She met his eyes. I'll see you at 7. One more thing, Christy. His voice halted her by the door. I don't do love. So be careful. Christy's heart sank, but she didn't dare to flinch. Noted Mr. Jeong, she said, before shutting the door behind her. The Min family estate was in Gangnam, behind high walls and heavy security. Christy wore a simple black dress and had left her hair natural, curls framing her face. The car dropped her at the main entrance where Yi-jun was waiting. You look great, he said with an approving smile. Fair warning, Mother invited some extended family. She wants to show you off. Show me off. Her eyes widened in shock. She's proud of the progress Ji-young's making. And curious about the woman who managed to get him to actually try again. Yi-jun led her through beautiful gardens toward the main house. Be guided. My family can be too inquisitive. Especially if you don't understand our world. What world is that exactly? Yi-jun paused at the entrance. You really don't know, do you? About what my family does. Your mother said you're in business. Import and export, real estate, pharmaceuticals. Among other things. His expression turned serious. Look, I like you. You're good for my brother. But you should know what you're walking into before you get too deep. Before Christy could ask what he meant, the door opened. A woman in her 50s stood there, elegant in traditional hanbok, her hair perfectly styled. She had Ji-young's eyes, sharp and assessing. Miss Thompson. I'm Lady Min. Please come in. Her English was flawless, accent barely detectable. My son speaks highly of your work. Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Min. Call me Hyojin. We're not formal here. She led Christy into a beautiful sitting room where several people were gathered. Everyone, this is Christy Thompson, Ji-young's therapist from Africa. Ji-young stood near the window, dressed in a black suit that made him look jaw-droppingly handsome. His eyes found hers immediately, and something in his expression softened. Christy was introduced to aunts, uncles, cousins. All polite, but clearly curious. They asked about her background, her training, her family. She answered honestly, aware of being evaluated with every word. Dinner was served in a formal dining room. Christy found herself seated between Ji-young and Hyojin, with Yi-jun across from them. The meal was traditional Korean, course after course of beautifully prepared dishes. So Miss Thompson, an older man Christy had been introduced to as Uncle Sung, said, What do you think of our Ji-young? I think he's a dedicated patient who's making excellent progress. Christy kept her voice professional. Just a patient? Sung's smile was knowing. My nephew is a very eligible bachelor. Many families have expressed interest in marriage alliances. Uncle, Ji-young's voice held warning. I'm simply saying the girl should know what she's getting into if she has designs on you. I have no designs, Christy said firmly. I'm his therapist. That's all. Her throat tightened from the awkward silence that befell the room. She felt Ji-young's sudden stare. Hyojin smoothly changed the subject, asking Christy about her stay in California and her family. The rest of dinner passed pleasantly, though Christy remained aware of the undercurrents. The way certain relatives watched her, the careful way people phrased questions about Ji-young's recovery. After dinner, Ji-young pulled her aside. Let me show you the gardens. They're beautiful at night. They walked in silence for a while, the sounds of the party fading behind them. Finally, in a secluded corner surrounded by flowering trees, Ji-young stopped. I'm sorry about my uncle. He's old-fashioned and thinks everything should be a business transaction. It's fine. I've dealt with worse. Christy turned to face him. But what did he mean about marriage alliances? People don't really arrange marriages anymore, do they? Well, welcome to this part of the universe where they still do, Ji-young smiled. Marriages are about power, territory, connections. His hand brushed hers as they strolled. Sorry, they both said at the same time before smiling awkwardly. My mother has been fielding proposals since I was 20. And have you accepted any? No. I've never wanted to marry someone I don't love. He stopped, facing her now. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Until recently, I didn't think I'd ever want to marry at all. Christy's breath caught. What changed? You. You changed everything. He leaned closer. Tell me I'm not alone in feeling this. Tell me you feel it too. Christy collapsed under his touch. At that point, professional boundaries and ethics were thrown out the window. Though she struggled with all the thoughts this was a terrible idea. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, she couldn't lie. I feel it. I've been feeling it since that first day. Her hand covered his where it rested against her cheek. But Jiang, we can't act on it. I'm your therapist. There are rules, standards of practice. Then I'll find another therapist. You're making progress with me. Changing now could set you back months. I don't care. He moved closer until they were breathing the same air. I'd rather take longer to heal than lose the chance to be with you. You don't know what you're saying. This feeling, it might just be gratitude or transference. Patients often develop feelings for their therapists during treatment. It's normal and it passes. This won't pass. His other hand found her waist. I've had dozens of therapists over 3 years. I never felt anything for any of them. But you, from the moment you walked in and refused to be intimidated, I felt something wake up inside me. Jiang. His lips crashed into hers. She should have resisted. But like Jessica had early said, she was already gone from the first day she met him. Christy responded by pressing her hands into his jacket. The kiss deepened, grew more urgent. 3 weeks of tension, of careful professionalism, of denying what they both felt, poured into that kiss. When they finally broke apart, they both chuckled in embarrassment, but Jiang never took his eyes off her. Christy's cheek turned light pink from blushing before she rested her forehead against his chest. This is a terrible idea, she muttered in between her smile. The best ones usually are. His arms came around her. What do we do now? I don't know. She pulled back to look at him. I need to think. We both need to think about what this means, what we're willing to risk. I already know what I'm willing to risk. Everything, he said. That's easy to say in the heat of the moment. But we're talking about my career, your treatment, both of our reputations. Christy stepped out of his arms, immediately missing the warmth. Give me a few days. Let me figure out if there's a way to do this that doesn't compromise either of us. And if there isn't, then we decide what matters more. She touched his face gently. I should go. Your family will notice if we're gone too long. He walked her back to the main house where Yijun was waiting with a knowing smile. The car ride home gave Christy time to think, but her mind kept returning to the feel of Jiang's mouth on hers, the way he'd held her like she was precious. She was in so much trouble. That night, Christy researched therapist-patient relationships, professional boundaries, ethical guidelines. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. She needed to transfer his care to another therapist before pursuing any kind of personal relationship. But finding someone who could work with Jiang, who she'd trust enough to let touch him, who understood the complexity of his case, that wouldn't be easy. And it could set his progress back significantly. She was still wrestling with the problem the next morning when her phone rang. Marcus Webb's name flashed on the screen. Christy, hey. I'm actually in Seoul for another week. Want to grab coffee? She almost said no, then realized maybe distance was exactly what she needed. Perspective from someone outside the situation. Sure. There's a cafe in Itaewon I've been meaning to try. They met that afternoon. Marcus looked the same as always, easy smile and casual confidence. They ordered Americanos and settled at a corner table. So how's the mysterious client? Marcus asked. Still mysterious? Very. Christy wrapped her hands around her cup. Actually, I could use some advice. She gave him the basics, leaving out names and identifying details. A patient she was developing feelings for, the ethical complications, the question of whether to continue treatment or transfer his care. Marcus listened carefully, his expression thoughtful. Here's my take. You're too close to the situation to be objective anymore. Feelings, whether reciprocated or not, compromise your ability to provide impartial care. So I should transfer him, her brows knitted together in confusion. Professionally, yes. Personally, I think you need to ask yourself what you really want. Marcus leaned forward. Is this guy worth potentially derailing your career? Because once you cross that line, even if you transfer his care first, people will talk. It could affect your reputation, your ability to get future clients. I know. But I also see how you light up when you talk about him, even anonymously. Marcus smiled. I've known you for 5 years, Christy. I've never seen you like this about anyone. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? She squealed in embarrassment. Honestly, I don't know, but I think you've already made your decision. You just need to admit it to yourself. They talked for another hour, and Christy felt some clarity emerging. She couldn't keep treating Ji-young while having feelings for him. That was non-negotiable. But she could transfer his care, maintain professional distance, and then see what developed. They both made jokes and smiled while she slipped her drink, but the moment he lifted her head, her heart stopped like she had seen a ghost. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. Now go grab a bowl of popcorn because we are about to hit the gas pedal of intrigue. Ji-young stood 10 feet away, dressed in a black tuxedo. His hair was styled back from his face, and he looked every inch the powerful, dangerous man people whispered about. But his eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin heat. Ji-young. She stood automatically. I didn't expect to see you here. Well, I own the hotel. His gaze cut to Marcus, cold and assessing. I see you're having a nice time out here, he said. Marcus Webb. We went to grad school together. She gestured between them, trying to ignore the sudden tension. Marcus, this is Min Ji-young, one of my clients. Marcus extended his hand with friendly ignorance. Nice to meet you, man. Christy told me about her work here. Sounds fascinating. Ji-young shook his hand, but Christy saw the deliberate pressure in his grip. The subtle flex of dominance. Has she? His brows quaked. It wasn't a question. I wasn't aware my treatment was dinner conversation. It's not, Christy said quickly. I never discuss client details. Marcus just knows I'm working with someone. Someone important, apparently. Marcus grinned, oblivious to the danger crackling in the air. We've been trying to sync schedules for months. Finally got her to sit still long enough to catch up. How fortunate. Ji-young's jaw was tight. Enjoy your evening. He turned and walked away before Christy could say anything else. She watched him cross the bar, every woman's head turning as he passed, and felt something twist in her chest. That was jealousy she'd seen in his eyes. Raw and barely controlled. She wondered how she would explain herself. Marcus was talking, saying something about life after school, but Christy barely heard him. Her mind was racing, trying to process what had just happened. After the hangout with Marcus, she was walking back to her apartment when someone stepped out of an alley. A young Korean man, probably early 20s, with hard eyes and aggressive posture. You're the lady treating Min Ji-young. Christy's heart kicked. Excuse me, I owe you no response. If you don't mind, please leave the way. She tried to walk past, but he blocked her path. He's made himself weak, letting a woman like you touch him. Some people think that's a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. You should go back to America. Before something bad happens. His smile was nasty. Seoul can be dangerous for foreigners who don't know their place. Fear spiked through her, but Christy kept her voice steady. Are you threatening me? Just offering advice. He stepped back, hands raised in mock innocence. Think about it. He disappeared into the crowd before Christy could respond. She stood there, hands shaking, trying to process what had just happened. Someone had just threatened her. Because of Ji-young. Because of whatever thing he was into. And do you think they just had a brush off at the hotel? Gosh. She scoffed, hurrying off. She got home, locked the doors, and slid the window blind just in case someone was watching. Then, she pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and called him. Luckily, he picked up on the first call. I don't think our session is until next week, or were you wanting to call your companion to let him know you got home safe? His tone dropped with jealousy. Ji-young, can we not do this right now? I told you Marcus used to be my friend from school, but that's not the case now. I called you because someone threatened me about you while I was walking home. He said I should run while I can. What is going on? Christy's voice shook. What? She heard the sharp concern in his voice. What the hell? Where are you? I'm currently at home now at 81 Station. She responded. Good. Stay on the phone. I'm sending Taeyong to get you. Don't go anywhere alone. Ji-young, what's going on? Why did he say Seoul was dangerous for foreigners who don't know their place? It felt like a threat. The silence on the other end was heavy. What did he look like? Christy described the man as best she could. She heard Ji-young speaking to someone else, a frantic Korean she couldn't follow. Taeyong will be there in 3 minutes. Stay safe. Do not answer the door except when Taeyong calls. You're scaring me. I'm sorry this is happening. He pleaded. I'll explain everything when you get here. Just stay safe until then. Taeyong arrived in a black SUV, his expression grim. He ushered her into the back seat and they drove through Seoul in tense silence. They didn't go to the hospital or Ji-young's family estate. Instead, they pulled into an underground garage beneath a gleaming high-rise. Where are we? Mr. Min's private residence. You'll be safe here. Taeyong led her to a private elevator. He's waiting upstairs. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse that took Christy's breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Seoul. The decor was minimalist and expensive, all clean lines and dark colors. Ji-young stood at those windows, hands in his pockets, tension visible in every line of his body. He turned when the elevator opened. Ji-young, what is going on? He hurried over to him. Tell me exactly what happened. Every word he said, every detail you remember. Christy recounted the encounter, watching his expression grow colder with each sentence. When she finished, he pulled out his phone and made a call. I need to know who's been asking questions about her. Check with our contacts in Itaewon. He paused, listening. I don't care what it costs. I want a name by tonight. He hung up and finally looked at her. Really looked at her. Are you hurt? No, just shaken. Christy wrapped her arms around herself. Ji-young, what's happening? Why would someone threaten me over treating you? He moved his bar, poured whiskey with hands that shook slightly. Because of what I am. What my family does. Which is what exactly? And don't give me vague answers about business interests. Ji-young downed the whiskey, poured another. My family controls significant operations in Seoul's underground economy. We're not the mob exactly, but we're not entirely legitimate either. We broker deals between various factions, provide security and enforcement, move product that others can't. Product. Pharmaceuticals mostly. Expensive medical supplies that come in through private channels. He met her eyes. We also own half the nightclubs in Gangnam, several hotels, construction companies. The legitimate businesses fund the rest. Christy sank onto the couch. You're a crime boss. I prefer businessman with flexible ethics. His smile was bitter. But yes, essentially. And the threat. Probably from a rival faction. Or maybe someone who thinks my involvement with you makes me vulnerable. He sat beside her, not touching. In my world, caring about anything is seen as weakness. People look for leverage, for ways to manipulate or control. So by treating you, by getting close to you, I've become a target. Yes, Christy's mind raced. This explained so much. The security, the careful questions from his family, the wealth and power that seemed to emanate from him. I should go back to America. Probably. He still wasn't looking at her. That would be the smart thing. The safe thing. But I don't want you to go. Finally, he turned to face her. I know that's selfish. I know I should let you leave, let you be safe. But the thought of you getting on a plane, of never seeing you again, it makes me want to destroy things. Ji-young. I'm in love with you, Christy. The words came out raw, honest. I've been falling since that first day. Every session, every conversation, every moment you touch me, I fall deeper. Her heart hammered. You don't know that. It could be transference, gratitude, proximity. It's not. I've spent 3 years being touched by dozens of therapists and doctors. I never felt anything for any of them. He took her hand. But you make me feel alive again. You make me want to be better than I am. I can't keep treating you if we have feelings for each other. I know. So I'm firing you as my therapist. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Effective immediately. Your treatment isn't complete. Then I'll find someone else. Yijun can coordinate it. His eyes searched hers. But I need to know if there's a chance. If you feel even a fraction of what I feel, tell me now. Christy thought about all the reasons she should say no. The danger, the complications, the fact that she barely knew this world he occupied. Then she thought about the way he looked at her, the careful gentleness of his touch, the vulnerability he showed only to her. "I feel it too," she whispered. "I've been trying not to, trying to maintain boundaries, but I feel it." He pulled her into his arms then, holding her tight. "Then stay. Stay with me and let me keep you safe." "Safe from what exactly?" "From whoever's threatening you. From rival factions who might see you as leverage. From anyone who thinks they can use you to get to me." He pulled back enough to look at her. "I won't lie. Being with me means danger. But I swear I'll protect you with everything I have." "This is insane. I barely know you outside of therapy sessions." "Then let's change that. Stay here tonight. Tomorrow, for however long it takes to figure out who's behind the threat. Get to know me, the real me, not just the patient." Christy knew she should refuse. Should insist on going home, on putting distance between them until she could think clearly. But the thought of leaving, of facing potential danger alone, made her throat tight. "Okay, I'll stay. But just until we figure out what's going on." "Thank you." He kissed her forehead. "There's a guest room through there. I'll have Taeyong bring some of your things from your apartment." "Jiyoung, about what you said. About loving me. I meant it. Every word." His hand cupped her face. "You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know." But Christy was starting to suspect she did love him. Was falling in love with him, despite every logical reason not to. And that terrified her more than any threat. The guest room was beautiful and impersonal, clearly never used. Christy showered and changed into clothes Taeyong had retrieved from her apartment, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few hours. She'd been threatened. Learned that Jiyoung was essentially a crime boss. Been told he loved her. Agreed to stay in his penthouse indefinitely. Her life had gone from predictable to completely insane in the space of 3 weeks. There was a knock on her door. Jiyoung stood there with a tray of food. "I figured you hadn't eaten. My cook sent up some comfort food." He set the tray on her bedside table. "Are you okay? Honestly? I don't know." Christy sat on the edge of the bed. "This is a lot to process." "I know. And I'm sorry you got dragged into my world like this." He sat beside her, careful to maintain some distance. "If I'd known someone would threaten you, I never would have let things develop between us. You can't control how you feel." "Maybe not. But I could have been more careful." His hands fisted on his thighs. "The thought of someone hurting you because of me, it makes me feel insane." "Hey." Christy touched his arm. "I'm okay. Scared, but okay." He turned to look at her, and the raw emotion in his eyes made her breath catch. "I need you to understand something. The people in my world, they don't make empty threats. If someone approached you today, it means they're watching. Calculating. And I won't let them get close enough to hurt you. What are you going to do?" "Whatever it takes." The coldness in his voice sent a chill down her spine. "I've already put out word that you're under my protection. Anyone who touches you answers to me personally. Is that enough?" "It should be. My reputation carries weight in Seoul." He stood, pacing to the window. "But there are always those who think they're brave enough or smart enough to challenge me." Christy watched him, this man who could switch between gentle and dangerous so seamlessly. "Your family knew this could happen. That's why your uncle was testing me at dinner. They wanted to see if you could handle our world. If you had the strength to stand beside someone like me." He glanced back at her. "For what it's worth, my mother likes you. She said you have fire. Is that good? In our world? It's essential." He returned to sit beside her. "Christy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay. Are you staying because you want to or because you're afraid?" She considered the question carefully. "Both, if I'm being honest. I'm definitely afraid. But I also don't want to leave." "Not yet." "Not yet," he repeated softly. "But eventually? I don't know. This is all so new, so overwhelming." She took his hand. "Can we just take this one day at a time? Figure out what this is between us without the pressure of forever hanging over it." "I can do that." He squeezed her hand. "Though fair warning, I'm not good at casual. Once I decide I want something, I go after it completely." "Noted." She smiled despite her nerves. "Now feed me before this food gets cold." They ate together, the conversation gradually shifting to lighter topics. Jiyoung told her about growing up in Seoul's elite circles, the expectations and pressures. Christy shared stories about California, her parents, her decidedly normal childhood. It sounds nice, Jiyoung said. Normal. It was. Sometimes boring, but nice. Christy set down her empty bowl. Did you ever wish for normal? Every day since the accident. Before that, I was too busy building power to think about what I was sacrificing. He leaned back against the headboard. But 3 years of being broken gives you time to think. To realize that all the power in the world doesn't mean much if you're alone. You're not alone now. No. Now I have you. He turned his head to look at her. Even if it's just for a little while. Something in his voice made Christy's chest ache. He was trying to be okay with temporary, with whatever she could give, but she could see it cost him. Jiyoung, I'm not planning to leave tomorrow. Or even next week. Can we please stop acting like I have one foot out the door already? Sorry. Old habit. Expecting people to leave before they can be taken away. He stood. I should let you sleep. If you need anything, my room's at the end of the hall. Wait. Christy caught his hand before he could leave. Stay. Just for a little while. I don't want to be alone right now. He hesitated, then kicked off his shoes and lay down beside her on top of the covers. Christy curled against his side, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. This okay? She asked. More than okay. His arm came around her. This is perfect. They lay like that until Christy drifted off to sleep, feeling safer than she had any right to given the circumstances. She woke alone the next morning, sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then it all came flooding back. Christy found Jiyoung in the Kit Thompson, cooking breakfast with surprising competence. He changed into casual clothes, jeans and a black t-shirt that showed off his physique. You cook. I have many hidden talents. He smiled, the real one that transformed his face. Coffee? Please. They ate breakfast together at the Kit Thompson Island, and it felt domestic in a way that should have been strange, but somehow wasn't. Jiyoung told her about the calls he'd made that morning, reaching out to contacts, putting pressure on the right people. I should have a name by this afternoon, he said. Whoever sent that guy to threaten you is going to regret it. What will you do when you find out who it is? Make it very clear that you're off limits. He met her eyes. You don't need to know the details. Because they involve violence. Yes. No apology in his voice. I won't lie to you about who I am, Christy. I'm not a good man. I've done things, ordered things, that would horrify most people. But not me. I don't know. That's what terrifies me. He set down his coffee. That one day you'll look at me and really see what I am, and you'll be horrified. Christy thought about that. About the man who'd threatened her yesterday, the casual cruelty in his voice. About Jiyoung's world where violence was currency and weakness got you killed. I think you're more than the worst things you've done, she said finally. We all are. Yes, you've hurt people. But you've also protected people, built something from nothing, survived things that would have broken others. You're very generous. I'm realistic. She reached across to take his hand. I'm not saying what you do is right, but I understand why you do it. And I think underneath all the power and control, you're just someone trying to survive in the world you were born into. His grip tightened on her hand. You make me want to be better. Then be better. Not for me, for yourself. They were interrupted by Jiyoung's phone buzzing. He glanced at it and his expression hardened. I need to take this. Don't leave the penthouse. He disappeared into his office, and Christy was left alone with her thoughts. She wandered to the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over Seoul. Somewhere out there was the person who'd threatened her. The people who saw her as Jiyoung's weakness. She should be more afraid than she was. Should be on the next plane back to California. But something kept her rooted here. Some combination of attraction and curiosity, and the feeling that walking away now would be giving up on something important. Her phone rang. Jessica's face appeared on the screen. Girl, you haven't called in days. What's going on? Christy gave her the abbreviated version. The developing feelings, Jiyoung's revelation about his world, the threat, moving into his penthouse. Jesus Christ, Christy. You're living in a K-drama. Jessica's voice mixed concern and fascination. Are you safe? I think so. Jiyoung's made it clear I'm under his protection. And you believe he can protect you? Yeah. I do. Christy surprised herself with how certain she sounded. You should see him, Jess. He's terrifying when he wants to be. I almost feel sorry for whoever threatened me. Almost? They scared me. Part of me wants to see Ji-young make them regret it. She paused. Is that terrible? It's human. Someone threatens you, you want consequences. Jessica was quiet for a moment. But babe, you need to think long-term here. Can you really build a life with someone in that world? The danger, the violence, the moral ambiguity. I don't know. I'm trying not to think that far ahead. That's not like you. You're a planner. I know. But this thing with Ji-young, it doesn't fit into neat plans. It's messy and complicated and probably a terrible idea. Christy leaned her forehead against the cool glass. But I can't walk away from it. Not yet. Then don't. Just be careful, okay? And keep me updated, so I know you're alive. They talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Christy felt slightly better having talked it through, having someone back home know what was happening. Ji-young emerged from his office an hour later looking satisfied and slightly dangerous. I have a name. Kim Jae-sung, low-level enforcer for the Choi family. They operate in Itaewon, which is why he was able to approach you there. What does that mean? It means the Choi family is testing me, seeing if I'll really protect you or if it's all talk. He pulled out his phone. I'm going to meet with their boss this afternoon. Make it clear that threatening you is a mistake. Can I come with you? Absolutely not. His voice was firm. You stay here where it's safe. I'll handle this. I'm tired of being handled. Christy crossed her arms. If this is about me, I should be there. No. These meetings can turn violent quickly. I won't risk you. He moved closer, his hands settling on her shoulders. Please, Christy. Let me do this my way. The please did it. She could see how much it cost him to ask rather than order. Fine. But you come back safe, understand? I always do. He kissed her forehead. Taeyun will be here if you need anything. Don't answer the door for anyone else. After he left, the penthouse felt too empty. Christy tried to distract herself with television, a book, anything. But her mind kept returning to Ji-young in a room with dangerous people, negotiating her safety. She was pacing when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. If you care about Min Ji-young, you'll leave Seoul. He's making enemies because of you. How many people have to die before you realize you're poison? Christy's hands shook as she forwarded the message to Ji-young. His response came immediately. Don't respond. Delete the number. I'm handling it. But the message rattled her. How many people would get hurt because of her connection to Ji-young? Was she being selfish by staying? She was still wrestling with these questions when Yi-jun showed up at the penthouse, letting himself in with his own key. Taeyun told me you look stressed. Figured you could use company. He held up a bag of snacks and soju. Korean stress relief. Despite everything, Christy smiled. Does your brother know you're here? He's the one who suggested it. Said you shouldn't be alone while he handles business. Yi-jun settled on the couch. Plus, I wanted to check on you. Make sure you're not freaking out too badly. I'm freaking out a normal amount given the circumstances. Good. That means you're sane. He poured them both soju. Look, I know my brother's world is intense. Trust me, I grew up in it. But he's good at what he does. If he says he'll keep you safe, he will. Even if it means putting himself in danger? Especially then. Yi-jun's expression turned serious. Ji-young hasn't cared about anyone like this since the accident. Actually, I'm not sure he's ever cared about anyone like this. So yeah, he'll do whatever it takes to protect you. That's what worries me. What if he takes unnecessary risks because of me? Then that's his choice to make. You can't control him, Christy. Nobody can. Yi-jun handed her a shot. All you can do is decide if he's worth the complications. If this life is something you can handle long-term. They drank, and Christy felt the soju burn down her throat. I don't know if I can handle it. I'm a physical therapist from California. I've never dealt with anything like this. Nobody's equipped for this life until they're in it. Even my mother, who grew up in a similar world, said it took her years to adjust. He poured another round. But you seem tougher than you look. You stood up to Ji-young when most people cower. That counts for something. Or it means I'm too stupid to be properly afraid. Fear and courage aren't opposites. Being scared but staying anyway? That's real bravery. They spent the next few hours talking, Yijun sharing stories about growing up as the spare heir, always in Jiyoung's shadow. Christy found herself relaxing, enjoying his easy company. "You're good for him," Yijun said as the sun began to set. "I haven't seen him this alive in years. So whatever happens, thank you for that." Jiyoung returned just after 7, and Christy saw immediately that something had shifted. He looked tired but satisfied, like he'd accomplished something important. "It's handled," he said without preamble. "The Choi family understands that you're off limits. They've agreed to leave you alone." Just like that. I was very persuasive. He pulled off his jacket, and Christy saw bruised knuckles. "They won't be a problem anymore." Yijun stood. "That's my cue to leave. Try not to do anything I wouldn't do." He winked at Christy on his way out. Once they were alone, Christy crossed to Jiyoung and took his hands, examining the damage. "You got in a fight." A small disagreement about respect and boundaries. He let her turn his hands over, inspecting his knuckles. "Nothing I couldn't handle. You could have been seriously hurt. But I wasn't. I'm here, safe, and the threat is neutralized." He pulled her closer. "That's all that matters." Christy looked up at him, this man who'd fought for her, who'd put himself in danger to keep her safe. "Thank you. You don't need to thank me for protecting what's mine." The possessive declaration should have bothered her. Instead, it sent heat through her veins. "Yours. If you'll have me. I know it's fast, I know we're still figuring things out. But I need you to know that I'm all in, Christy. Completely committed to this, to us." Her heart hammered. "Even though I'm complicated and foreign and don't fit into your world? Especially because of that. You make me want to build a different world. One where I can be more than what I was raised to be." His hands framed her face. "So yes, mine. If you'll let me be yours." Christy knew she should think about this more, should take time to consider all the implications. But standing there looking into his eyes, feeling the way he touched her like she was precious, she couldn't find any more reasons to hold back. "Okay, I'm yours." She rose on her toes. "And you're mine." He kissed her then, deep and claiming. Christy melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt. This was different from their first kiss in the garden. That had been tentative testing. This was certainty. Promise. Possession. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jiyoung rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight. Not in the guest room. In my bed. Just sleeping. If that's what you want. But I need you close. Need to know you're safe." Christy thought about all the reasons she should maintain some boundaries, some distance. Then she thought about how empty the guest room had felt last night before he joined her. "Okay, but I'm stealing all the blankets." His laugh was surprised and genuine. "Deal." They ordered dinner, something easy and delicious from Jiyoung's favorite restaurant. They ate while watching a drama on television, arguing good-naturedly about the characters' choices. It was so normal, so domestic, that Christy almost forgot about the danger and complications. Almost. Later, in Jiyoung's bedroom, Christy felt her nerves return. This was different from falling asleep together last night. This felt more deliberate, more intimate. "I can sleep on the couch if you're uncomfortable," Jiyoung offered, reading her expression. "No, I want this. I'm just nervous." She climbed into bed, acutely aware of him moving around the room, getting ready. "It's been a while since I shared a bed with anyone." "Same." He slid in beside her, keeping careful distance. "We don't have to do anything. I meant what I said. I just want you close." Christy shifted closer, resting her head on his chest. His arm came around her automatically, and she felt some of her tension ease. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Are you really okay with taking this slow? I know you said you're all in, but physically, I need time. Everything is happening so fast." His hand stroked her back in soothing circles. "I'm okay with whatever pace you need. Yes, I want you. But I also want you comfortable and certain. There's no rush. Even though you're used to getting what you want immediately, especially because of that. You're not a business deal or a territory acquisition. You're a person I care about." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "You're worth waiting for." Christy felt something in her chest expand. "You're pretty amazing, you know that?" "I'm really not. But I'm trying to be. For you." They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in days, Christy felt truly safe. The next week fell into a rhythm. Christy continued staying at the penthouse, though she ventured out during the day with security. She visited her clinic, met with colleagues, tried to maintain some semblance of normal life. Ji-young arranged for another therapist to take over his treatment, a quiet professional woman who came to the penthouse 3 times a week. It was strange watching someone else work with him, but Christy knew it was necessary. They spent evenings together, cooking or ordering in, talking about everything and nothing. Ji-young told her about his business, both legitimate and otherwise. Christy shared more about her family, her dreams, her fears. "I want you to meet someone," Ji-young said one evening over dinner. "A doctor in New York. She specializes in nerve regeneration cases like mine. You're considering more treatment? I want to explore all options." He set down his chopsticks. "Not because I think I need to be fixed for you. You've made it clear that doesn't matter. But because I want every possibility for our future." "Our future," Christy repeated softly. "Unless you don't see this lasting that long." "I don't know what I see. Everything is still so new." She reached across the table. "But I want there to be a future. I want to see where this goes." "That's enough for now." They flew to New York 2 weeks later. Dr. Sarah Thompson, no relation though they joked about it, was based in Manhattan. Her office was state-of-the-art, and her credentials were impressive. She examined Ji-young thoroughly, reviewed all his medical history, ran new tests. Finally, she sat them down in her office. "The good news is that you've made remarkable progress. Your current therapist and Miss Thompson's earlier work have helped significantly." She pulled up imaging on her computer. "The nerve damage isn't as extensive as your previous doctors believed. With the right surgical intervention, I'm confident we can restore full function." Ji-young's hand found Christy's, squeezed tight. "What's the procedure?" Dr. Thompson explained in detail. "A complex surgery that would take 6 to 8 hours, followed by months of rehabilitation. Success rate was high, around 80%, but there were always risks." "I need to think about it," Ji-young said. "Of course. Take your time. But know that the window for this type of intervention is limited. Another year or 2, and the damage might become permanent." They left the office in silence, walking through Manhattan without a real destination. Finally, in Central Park, they found a bench overlooking the lake. "What are you thinking?" Christy asked. "That I want the surgery. That I want to be completely whole for you, for us." He turned to look at her. "But I'm also terrified it won't work. That I'll go through all of this and still be broken." "You're not broken, Ji-young. You never were. But I could be better. I want to be better." Christy thought about what this meant. Months of recovery, of being dependent again, of vulnerability. "If you want the surgery, I'll support you. But do it for yourself, not for me." "What if I'm doing it for both of us? Is that allowed?" She smiled. "Yeah, that's allowed." They stayed in New York for 3 more days, playing tourist. Ji-young was different here, away from Seoul and his responsibilities. More relaxed, quicker to smile. Christy caught glimpses of who he might have been without the weight of his world on his shoulders. On their last night, they had dinner at a rooftop restaurant with views of the city skyline. Ji-young was quieter than usual, clearly thinking about something. "I could leave it all," he said suddenly. "The business, the territory, all of it. We could stay here, start over. I have enough legitimate investments to support us." Christy set down her wine. "Are you serious?" "I don't know. Maybe." He leaned back. "Being here with you, being anonymous, it's the most peace I've felt in years. Part of me wants to never go back. But it's not that simple. I have responsibilities, people who depend on me. And I'm not sure I know how to be anyone other than who I am." His eyes met hers. "Could you love me if I wasn't powerful? If I was just another businessman in a city full of them?" "I already love you." The words slipped out before Christy could stop them. Ji-young went completely still. "Say that again." "I love you." Christy felt tears prick her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen this fast, and I definitely didn't plan to tell you like this. But I do. I love you." He was around the table in seconds, pulling her to her feet, kissing her like she was air and he'd been drowning. When he finally pulled back, His eyes were bright. I love you too. God, I love you so much. They left the restaurant early, barely making it back to their hotel room before they were kissing again, desperate and hungry. Christy pulled at Ji-young's shirt while he worked the zipper of her dress. Are you sure? He asked against her neck. I'm sure. I want this. I want you. They tumbled into bed together, learning each other with hands and mouths. Ji-young touched her like she was precious, like he was memorizing every curve and sound. Christy explored the planes of his body, the scars from his accident, the strength in his muscles. When he finally pushed inside her, moving with careful control, she felt complete in a way she hadn't known was possible. I can feel everything, he whispered, wonder in his voice. Every sensation, every touch. You did this. You gave this back to me. We did it together. Christy pulled him closer, matching his rhythm. We healed together. After, they lay tangled in hotel sheets, hearts still racing. Ji-young traced patterns on her shoulder, his touch soft in the darkness. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. For seeing past what I thought I was to who I could be. His arm tightened around her. For loving me. Thank you for letting me in. For trusting me enough to be vulnerable. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and Christy felt something settle in her chest. Certainty, maybe. Or just peace. They returned to Seoul a week later. The penthouse felt different now, less like a safe house and more like home. But reality reasserted itself quickly. Ji-young had meetings, business to handle, territory disputes to mediate. Christy returned to her clinic work, though she still stayed at the penthouse most nights. One afternoon, she was seeing a patient when the clinic receptionist knocked urgently. Miss Thompson, there's someone here to see you. She says it's important. Christy finished her session and went to the waiting room. A young Korean woman sat there, expensive clothes and perfect makeup, but her eyes were red from crying. Miss Thompson? I'm Kim Yuna. We met briefly at a bookstore. The woman who'd confronted her about Ji-young. Christy's defenses went up immediately. What can I do for you? I need to apologize. And warn you. Yuna's voice was shaky. My family, they're not happy about Ji-young choosing you. They're planning something. Planning what? I don't know exactly. But I heard my father on the phone talking about removing obstacles, about teaching lessons. She looked up, fear clear in her eyes. Please, you need to be careful. My family doesn't accept rejection well. Christy's blood ran cold. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm not my family. And because even though I wanted Ji-young for myself, I can see he's happy with you. He deserves happiness after everything he's been through. Yuna stood. Just watch your back. The Kim family has reached. She left before Christy could ask more questions. Christy immediately called Ji-young. His voice was tense when he answered. I'm in a meeting. Is everything okay? No. I just got a visit from Kim Yuna. She said her family is planning something. The silence on the other end was heavy. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't leave the clinic. He arrived in 15, Taeyong and 2 other security guards in tow. Ji-young's expression was thunderous. Tell me exactly what she said. Christy recounted the conversation. Ji-young's jaw got tighter with every word. The Kim family is making a mistake. A big one. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling an emergency meeting. Every family, every faction. This ends now. Ji-young, maybe we should. No. No more half measures, no more warnings. His eyes met hers, and she saw cold fury there. They threatened you. That's a line nobody crosses. The meeting was set for that evening at a neutral location. Ji-young wanted Christy to stay at the penthouse, but she refused. This is about me. I should be there. It's too dangerous. Then make it safe. But I'm not hiding while you fight my battles. She crossed her arms. We're partners, remember? Equal partners. That means I gotta say. He looked like he wanted to argue. Then his expression softened slightly. Fine. But you stay by my side the entire time. And if things get violent, you leave immediately. No arguments. Deal. The meeting location was a private room in one of Ji-young's hotels. When they arrived, the space was already filling with dangerous-looking men in expensive suits. Christy recognized some faces from the family dinner, but many were new. Hyojin was there, elegant and composed. She nodded approvingly when she saw Christy. Good. You didn't hide. That shows strength. The Kim family patriarch arrived last, flanked by his son and several guards. He was in his 60s, silver-haired and distinguished, with eyes that missed nothing. Min Jiyoung. You called this meeting. Speak. Jiyoung stood, and the room fell silent. I called this meeting because the Kim family has overstepped. They've threatened someone under my protection. Someone I love. And that cannot stand. Your woman is not our concern. She is now. I'm making her my concern, everyone's concern. Jiyoung's voice was hard. Christy Thompson is to be treated as family. My family? Any threat against her is a threat against the Min organization. Any harm that comes to her will be answered with total war. Murmurs rippled through the room. You would risk everything for a foreigner? Kim's voice dripped disdain. I would burn Seoul to the ground for her. Jiyoung's hand found Christy's. So yes, I'm making it clear right now in front of everyone. She's off limits. Untouchable. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. The room fell silent. Christy felt dozens of eyes on her, assessing, calculating. She lifted her chin and met their gazes steadily. Finally, Hyojin spoke. The Min family stands behind my son's declaration. Christy Thompson is under our protection. Anyone who threatens her answers to us. One by one, other families voiced their agreement. It was political theater, Christy realized. They weren't agreeing because they liked her or approved of the relationship. They were agreeing because going against the Min family was bad for business. Kim Patriarch was the last to speak. The Kim family has no interest in your woman. But we expect the same courtesy. Our business dealings remain our own. Agreed. As long as those business dealings don't involve threatening what's mine. Tension stretched. Then Kim nodded once, sharply. The meeting dissolved after that, people leaving in clusters. Christy felt like she could finally breathe again. Is it over? She asked Jiyoung quietly. For now. We've established boundaries, made allegiances clear. He pulled her close. You're safe. That's what matters. Hyojin approached before they could leave. Walk with me, dear. It wasn't really a request. Christy followed Jiyoung's mother to a quiet corner. You handled yourself well tonight. Many women would have cowered under that scrutiny. I was terrified. But you didn't show it. That's what counts. Hyojin's expression softened. My son loves you. I've never seen him like this with anyone. So I need to know, do you love him enough to handle what comes with him? Yes. Christy didn't hesitate. I love him. All of him, including the parts that scare me. Good. Because this life, it's not easy. There will always be threats, always be people trying to use you against him. You'll need to be strong. I can be strong. I believe you can. Hyojin took her hand. Welcome to the family, Christy. Officially. That night, back at the penthouse, Jiyoung was quieter than usual. Christy found him standing at the windows, staring out at the city. Hey, you okay? I put a target on your back tonight. Made you visible to everyone in my world. His voice was heavy. I keep thinking maybe I should let you go. Let you be safe. Stop. Christy moved to stand beside him. You don't get to make that choice for me. I chose this. I chose you. Yes, it's dangerous and complicated, but it's also real and worth fighting for. You deserve better than this life. I deserve to make my own choices. And I choose you. She took his hand. Every day, I choose you. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I don't deserve you. Good thing I don't care about what you deserve. I care about what I want. She pulled back to look at him. And I want you. Forever, if you'll have me. Forever, he repeated, and something in his voice made her heart skip. Is that a promise? It's a promise. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and Christy felt complete. This man, this dangerous, complicated, beautiful man, was hers. And she was his. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Thank you for making it to the end of the story. I'm sure you were blown away by the show of love and kindness. To support and spread this love, kindly hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Like and share so we can join hands in spreading love and kindness. Turn on the notification bell so you don't get to miss our next story. See you in the next one. Bye.